Hello, friends, and welcome here to Town Hall Heroes or Town Hall Overwatch. I did it. I finally screwed up. Episode number 6. Don't giggle at me, Joshy.
That will never not happen.
I've done 102 episodes of Town Hall Heroes, so I'm actually quite impressed. It's messed me up. Well, this week we have Ask Joshy, of course, back as my co-host, and Unctious as our guest. Welcome, my friends. Joshy, what's new?
New things. Well, I'm casting Ghost of Gamers weeklies again. I'm casting King of the Watch tomorrow. I'm casting Onog Invitational in 2 weeks. So mostly just casting and streaming as per usual. I'm not going to be going to PAX East, and I'm not going to DreamHack. Those are the news with Joshi.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be at PAX East. What the hell, man?
I had like a chance of an opportunity to do something and it did not pan out. But maybe if I tweet, someone will pay my flight and hotel. But I'm sure that'll work. I'm sure that'll happen.
Unctious, welcome. Introduce yourself.
All right, so my name is Unctious. I am an ex-StarCraft 2 commentator. I did that for a couple years. I was like a Playhem commentator. I did a couple of tournaments. I had a brief and fun foray into Heroes of the Storm. I didn't really stick with that. I don't think it was the game of choice for me. But now that Overwatch is coming out almost in full release, I'm gonna really try my hand at some Overwatch casting. I really love the game, and I love a lot of what the community has to offer. So I'm really excited for it. And I'm a buddy of Jake's. I think when did we first meet?
Oh, we met like at the MLG studio several years
A while ago.
Yeah. But you also do a lot with Mafia, which is actually pretty cool. You've got a bit of a Twitch presence there, right?
Yeah, so Ryuzilla, if you're familiar with him, also used to work at MLG. He was like a tournament admin for them. He runs a weekly Mafia show. If you ever played Mafia or Werewolf or Coup or any like social deception game like that, we basically grabbed the best players that we can find from Forum Mafia and Live Mafia and Video Mafia, and we all got together on one stream and decided that we were going to throw kind of an all-star game. And that happens weekly, Tuesdays at 9 p.m. over on Ryan's channel. So if you watch that, you may have seen me there. It's a super fun time, and it's a really accessible stream. A lot of really smart people. It's so much fun. Would absolutely recommend either checking it out or playing Mafia yourself if you haven't.
Yeah, it's really cool because I've known Ryuzilla forever. He used to be like a competitive Halo 2 player, so he's got his roots in FPS for sure, and he'll probably be a guest on this show eventually as well. But it's so funny that we met. I didn't meet you through Ryuzilla. You just happened to be completely tied with him, and I'm going to be moving about 15 minutes away from you when I have my new house. So it's just like, it's kind of funny how it all works out, and it's going to be fun to have you on the show. For me, I have no idea if I'm attending PAX East. Now that you're going, I feel a little bit more incentivized to go. I hear there could be Overwatch stuff there, but I don't know if there's Hero stuff there. But still, if Overwatch is going to be present, maybe I'll find tickets, right? I'll find tickets. I can drive there. I don't need to
the
buy
closer you get to the event, the cheaper they actually get. So,
well, like, Josh needs a flight. I can just kind of find my way there, man. Or just drive there.
I'll ride my bike. I'll get started now.
It's a good idea.
Literally pulls a bike from behind his bed and just gets on.
Well, for myself, Heroes of the Dorm continues. We were working in the studio all day today. We've got a full day recording tomorrow. And yeah, I don't know if I mentioned this last week. I probably did. The show is now powered by Asus Republic of Gamers, or Asus. I think I've been mispronouncing it this whole time, so that's very exciting for me. And yeah, so this week we've got some cool stuff to talk about. It's kind of a light week in terms of like there's no patch. There isn't any real like crazy things happening. There is a bit of shuffling happening in the esports scene, which is still again young and growing. It's very grassroots at this point in time. And we'll be talking about that. We'll be talking about some community sites and the cool things those community sites are doing. There's the controversy of the Tracer over-the-shoulder look. We're going to be giving that a bit of a chat, and yes, this is very it's getting a ton of media. I don't know if you guys have been following it, but like Total Biscuit has made like one of the funniest videos I've ever seen on the internet, and I want to give props to that. Custom crosshairs has been confirmed as something coming into the game, and yeah, we'll get all around that. So I guess we kind of already did our introductions, so that is an irrelevant thing here on our graphic. Nice, excellent, good, and great. But let's talk about the custom crosshairs. Joshy, How important do you think this is for the growth of the game?
Well, custom crosshairs, I feel like they're still not really custom crosshairs like people are envisioning. I think it's going to be a few options available. For example, Kaplan made a post saying, "What RGB values do you guys normally use for your crosshairs?" So lots of red, green,
Uh,
cyan, stuff like that. So he made it sound like making a slider like MS Paint slider was not a trivial thing to add to the game right now. So he was basically just pulling for the quick hits for most used. And I gave my feedback. I use a red dot in every single FPS that I've ever played. So I just said 25 or 255.00 dot for me is all I care about. And people weighed in. They were talking about adding a black border to crosshairs, like a 1 pixel black border, so that you don't lose it on clouds and white buildings and stuff like that. So I think it's going to be more in line with small options and not upload your own sort of thing, or even scaling. I'm not sure is going to become a thing. It's probably still going to stick to the very specific crosshairs for each character. And I feel like with console, that's again another consideration that they have to make, where you can provide some options, but really not full customization. But anything is better than just solid white all the time,
Right.
no flexibility. So I'm happy for any change that we get there.
Unctuous, any thoughts on this?
Yeah, no, I'm excited for the change too. I think having custom crosshairs is going to be super valuable. Like Josh said, there's like FPS pros who have been playing with a certain kind of crosshair for years and years and years. You even look at Counter-Strike, for instance, and you see people still customize their crosshairs to be like the same old school CS 1.6 crosshair that they've been using for over a decade. So that's going to be really good, I think, for the competitive scene. I think that like the super good players, like they probably don't even really need to worry too much about losing their crosshair too often. A lot of it is muscle memory. But I mean, having that will definitely be at least a benefit. Like, there's no downside to having those kinds of options. The more customizability, the more, the better I can customize my own personal experience, the more likely I am to stick with the game, to take it a little bit more seriously, and the lower like the frustration bar is when people are trying to get involved. So I think it's really great. It would actually be a little bit of a disappointment if it was just color customization. Like I would not like that at all.
So if you say it'd be a disappointment if it's just color customization, but how far should they go? Should I be able to make my crosshair a tracer butt? Should I just be able to have a nice tracer butt in the center of the screen where I blast my opponents? Like, how customizable should it be?
Yeah, I think you should also be able to customize the actual like bullets that are coming out of your gun. So when they're coming from the tracer butt, you just see tiny poofs on their way out.
And I want Winston's electricity to be acid. Why not? Just change whatever you want.
Yeah. No, I think. I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't say that you should upload your crosshairs. I like what CS:GO has going on, which I think is mostly just being able to change shape, choose the scaling, right?
Right.
Which I dig. I'm for it.
Well, the custom crosshairs, Kaplan has said it is on its way, so we can be excited for that. It seems like the dev team is well aware of any community concern there is, and they're trying to address it now. I don't think they've actually said when to expect this functionality, and I'm curious if it will make it out for launch.
Are you saying Blizzard has been unclear with when they're releasing something? Is that what you're suggesting?
Soon TM is so specific, man.
Yeah. It's anywhere between 2 weeks and 2 years, sometimes longer.
Any day.
There was a thread on Reddit for the Heroes subreddit talking about the fact that 4 years ago, Blizzard said that Appear Offline is coming soon as a feature on Battle.net, and 4 years ago, it still not has happened. So who knows? The Overwatch team, on the other hand, has been actually very active in releasing these functionalities. I think they've been pushing out features in the beta at a very impressive rate. So who knows? Maybe it will make it before launch, but launch is really not that far off. Before we get to butt talk, they actually did in fact announce the date of the second animated short. It is titled Alive. It looks like it will be featuring Widowmaker's storyline and a little bit more about her. I believe the lore states that she was originally part of Overwatch and somehow brainwashed and corrupted, and hopefully this will help tell some of Widowmaker's story. The first animated short for that focus on Winston that actually was revealed on Xbox. And I was under the impression that Xbox and Blizzard had like nailed some kind of deal together, but here we see Blizzard is actually doing their best to network with both of those platforms and try to keep everyone happy. But this will be airing on the 3rd of April, so just about 3 days from now on PlayStation.com.
Yeah, and there was something. I have to pull it up again here, but there was something in the wording of the announcement there that made me feel like they were only going to be doing a few more of these.
Three more.
What do you guys?
3 more on the way. Next up, Alive.
Yeah, so that actually is the biggest news point to me. Is like, yes, we do get to learn about Widowmaker. That's great, and I'm happy. And that is a character that a lot of people are interested in because she is kind of an oddity. She's a Smurf, for God's sakes. So, got to figure out what happened there. But the fact that they're only doing a few more, I wonder if they're only doing a few more up to release and then stopping, or if they're going to switch gears, or like I envisioned that these were going to be coming out like once every month or two forever, just because the cast is so large, and with only 3 more after Widowmaker, you're definitely not going to be able to hit all 21 characters, I don't think. So curious, someone's going to get snubbed there if they don't continue doing these. But also, they do have like graphic novel apparently coming out and other mediums. So yeah, that was the news point that hit me, was how many of these are they actually going to make?
I would be surprised if they didn't keep making like some sort of animated stuff later on. Like, they're not shying away from having story. We know that they're taking care to have lore. They're taking care to have consistent personalities behind these characters. If they stopped just after like 4, I would be insanely surprised. I mean, I think this is the more lore content that they have coming out, I think the more likely people are going to keep on playing Overwatch for the long haul. Like, it'll keep like kind of casual people interested. There's no reason to stop. I think it would be a mistake.
I don't even know if surprise is the right word. I think disappointed is the bigger deal. I mean, as a hardcore Blizzard fan for a very long time, the fact that a lot of us have been saying, man, how cool would it be if Blizzard made a movie? And this is the closest thing we've ever had. Sure, the Warcraft movie's being made, but that's being made by Legendary. And these animated shorts are straight up being made by Blizzard. And it's like the dream. I'd kill for Blizzard to have a dedicated department this talented to make this stuff on a consistent basis. And the fact that Overwatch has the potential to deliver that is a big deal. Joshy is having that cam struggle tonight.
No, it was freezing, so I turned it off and on a couple times. It looks like I'm back.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
I don't know what happened.
Hey, man. Sometimes Skype is just a cruel overlord that we have to obey.
It's true. Everything's good now, though. Go on.
Oh yeah,
continue.
I mean, I just, I just really hope it doesn't end after 3 more of these animated shorts, because I mean, the comics, we know we're getting comics, and those are going to be badass. I'm really excited for that. But are they going to be like full-fledged comics, or are they just going to be web comics? Because I feel like Blizzard is almost stopping themselves short of the potential that they have with this product. Like, they're building new characters that are like capable of being household names. I truly think that they're capable. This is like a very Pixar feeling type IP, and if they don't sell physical comics that I can own and collect for Overwatch, I feel like they're underselling themselves. If they don't continue this animated short beyond their like 5 episodes that they have planned or whatever it is, I think they're selling themselves short. If they're only committing to 5 and then saying based on the reception they might do more, I'm fine with that. But I'm hungry for as much as I can get, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree.
It would be such a disservice to like the world that they've created if they didn't keep fleshing it out. There's so much room for expansion. And imagine
Yeah,
the fan fiction, guys. Imagine the fan fiction.
Oh no!
I will never imagine the fan fiction.
Unctuous.
That's not interested unless it's like Idra is in the StarCraft universe, that kind of stuff. That's
What?
awesome. I'll do that.
Unctuous.
That's the best fan fiction.
If you could ship one storyline, what would it be?
Oh my god. It's got to be Reaper Soldier, right? It's got to be. Is that wrong?
I don't know.
No, man. It's.
I mean, yeah. I mean, that's what makes it so good. It is so wrong, you know?
I think I would ship Winston and peanut butter myself, but
You would ship what?
Winston with peanut butter, and that's it, man. Anyways, let's get on to a more appropriate topic, butt talk. All right, so if you haven't heard the news, there's been a bit of controversy within the Overwatch realm regarding one of Tracer's poses, and I should be way more prepared with this actual graphic lined up, where she's looking over the shoulder. Basically, it all started with one forum post on the official Overwatch forums calling out... oh, wow, this is insane. Calling out a pose that Tracer has. So I just loaded up Reddit, and look at this. Tracer pose debate filter now available.
I saw that.
This has
I
become
saw that.
such a big topic within the Overwatch realm that the Reddit has actually built a filter to remove any post related to Tracer's ass.
So let's make a show about it. People want to filter this out.
Well, it's because every thread for like 2 solid days was
Yeah.
about tracer butts, and they were like clickbait too. They were like, "This is not about tracer butts," and then you click on it, and it's a tracer butt. Like that's too much. They had to thread flare so that you could filter it out.
I totally,
that
I totally like muted you for like a second there, and I'm just because I clicked the wrong thing. But I apologize.
Shout out to whoever like built the filter, by the way, who was like, people are gonna want this. Like they're so frustrated that they very quickly built a search function to get rid of it. Like it's brilliant. But
Okay, well, let's get down to brass butts, and we'll talk about the actual, Unctuous. You said you wanted to address this topic, so
I think
specifically,
it's so-
we're gonna let
I
you have
think-
the floor.
yeah, all right. So I think there's actually a lot of really legitimate feminist criticism, or there's a feminist critique that's really, really valuable in what was posted on the Blizzard forums. I think the reason that I feel like this is such a huge issue is because I think the backlash against Blizzard is entirely unwarranted, because I don't even really understand where the people who have the backlash are really, really coming from. So I think the first thing you need to tackle is whether or not you think the pose sexualizes Tracer in some way. And if you do believe that that Tracer is sexualized in some way by this, in my opinion, I think there's no defense for it other than there's no defense for it being in the game other than monetary reasons. And if you think it's okay to sell out our female characters for monetary reasons, then that is kind of what the larger issue is getting at. So let me explain. So Blizzard goes out of their way hardcore to create consistent characters and consistent storylines, and they value the characters that they've been building, especially for something like Overwatch. Like, we know that they're creating these shorts that we learn more about the characters. We know that they're possibly releasing comics and a ton of extra lore so that we understand where these characters are coming from, and there's a heavy tie between gameplay and who these characters are as people. And we know that Tracer is quirky, she's fun, she is one of the few strong female characters that we have that don't find their strength or their interesting aspects, their interesting character aspects through sexuality. So to have a pose that does sexualize Tracer is essentially selling out the character that they've been making it's basically saying that we can reduce, in something like gaming, we can reduce this character to a sexual object, despite the fact that it doesn't fit the character, it doesn't provide any extra value to the game outside of that sort of monetary perspective, which I think is really, really problematic.
So you think the pose is sexual, overtly sexual?
I'm not taking a stance on whether or not I think it's
Okay.
sexual. I can see where it can be seen as sexual, and I saw some people arguing kind of against me by saying, well, isn't it really Tracer's outfit that's sexualizing her? And I don't think that it's the pose or the outfit individually that are sexualizing her. I think it's them together. It's literally showing
I mean,
off.
it makes me think of the Avengers, and when they made the Avengers movie poster for the first movie, they have all the male characters being badass, and then they have Scarlett Johansson legit just going like this, and she's just like, "Look at my sick ass curves and my ass all at once," and it's a little bit much.
It's a weapon.
I mean, in a way, yeah, but like the Tracer pose. Personally, I feel like I totally think it's warranted. I totally think it's warranted to draw attention to this. But at the same time, like I never once looked at it as sexual. Not once did I ever myself see that pose and like I mean it's not like she's got like this glorious butt to begin with. It does. My eyes were never once like drawn to that. She's just being like, I'm cool, and that just kind of feels like a badass pose. And I'm pretty sure, like several of the other characters, like Hanzo, he holds his bow looking over his shoulder in a very similar
Hanzo,
pose.
McCree, Widowmaker all have the same exact pose.
Well, I think it's justifiable in Widowmaker's position. It's interesting that you would bring her up because I think that Widowmaker as a character speaks to like the trope of the femme fatale, like the female assassin. Her name implies the idea that she's like luring men into a trap, the way a spider might in a web.
That's true.
And like that is who her character is, which brings me to the point. Sexualization itself isn't the problem here. It's people were saying, oh well, if it's an art thing and Blizzard decides from a creative perspective that they don't want the pose in the game, then it's okay. But if it's a feminist thing, then it's a huge problem. Like we shouldn't be like Blizzard's afraid of hurting feelings. That's not what's going on at all here. The artistic problem is the feminist problem. So to say that it's okay, like it's somehow. How I'm like arguing against myself by saying it's okay that it's in Widowmaker's position, but not okay in Tracer's position, isn't a valuable argument. You can't do that. I mean, they're different characters. They sexuality informs them in different ways.
That's true. I have to agree with that. I really do. And with her persona, does it feel is Tracer the kind of character that wants to feel badass looking over the shoulder or whatever to drive that? No, she's quirky, she's silly, she's fun. But they've already announced they're going to remove that pose. They're going to give her a new pose to replace this. They confirmed that this is a discussion that was already ongoing before the post even happened. Obviously, the fact that Kaplan directly replied to that without giving any kind of backstory, he just kind of did a raw reply, caused this to blow up a little bit out of proportions. But do you guys think like that's it, one and done? Like this should be the end of the talk, and this is seeing more attention than it needs to? Because I mean, we're talking about it here on the show, obviously because it's been such a big topic on the internet. But Joshy, what are your thoughts on this whole debacle to begin with?
I don't care. Like it's Blizzard's game. They can do what they want. That's my opinion. Whether Tracer is supposed to be sexy or cute, or whether Widowmaker is supposed to be the sexy one instead, or whatever, I don't care. Like, different people are going to be attracted to different characters in different ways. Whatever, it's a video game. You can have your favorites and feel however you want to feel about any of the characters. I really don't care. It's total. I'm trying to think of the right word. Liberal, I guess. Do whatever you want. Doesn't bother me. I have my own opinions on everyone. I'm not trying to convince anyone otherwise. The issue that is more problematic is Jeff Kaplan basically replying to one person directly in public view of everything and everyone, saying, "You're right, we're changing this." And it's like, okay, so literally you've now taken the opinion of one person on your beta test over your entire art team, or however many people were involved in the decision making of making Tracer look the way she does and behave the way she does in her personality, and this pose that someone has created and has been approved to be put into your closed beta test. You're now basically saying, this guy's right, all you guys are wrong. We need to fix this. And it's like, is that really the right way to go from a production standpoint? And again, for me, okay, Jeff Kaplan says, hey, you're right, we hadn't considered this fully. I can see all of your points, and Jeff Kaplan, being the head honcho, is allowed to make that decision, and I'm totally fine with whatever direction they go. Tracer could have no poses. I don't really care that much, but
I'd be pissed.
But like, the point is, people are upset that it just looks like they're caving so quickly to such a minor issue that's problematic from moral reasons, and the fact that it's a sexual thing and not like a religious thing, for example, or a political thing, it just adds fuel to an existing fire that before now was unrelated. The whole like Gamergate, SJW, whatever, is now a part of this unnecessarily because of this public spectacle. But in my opinion, Tracer can behave any way, and I will not be offended. And
Tracer can behave
they're
however.
fictional characters. They're fictional freaking characters. It does not matter. And to be offended by something like that is very surface level silliness. And the fact that he's talking about a daughter, the guy who made the post originally is talking about a daughter who does not meet the game's nationally certified rating for teen, and that also makes it look pathetic, right? That makes it look like Jeff Kaplan's saying, "You're right. This person who should not even be playing our game is going to be negatively affected. So let's change it for them."
I don't think that's the key, though. I don't think that's the key. And I think it misses the important argument behind the entire thing. I don't think this is about a 12-year-old's feelings. And it's possible that the person who wrote the post is talking about their daughter. I don't think that's entirely what's important. I think it speaks to a broader issue, which is that in our art, in our media, in our shows, in our movies, in our songs, and especially in our video games, oftentimes we strive to make our female sexual objects. And that's a problem in and of itself. And I don't think this is Blizzard caving to a 12-year-old's feelings, when I think that it's more likely that Jeff Kaplan and his artistic team sees the general broad ethical point to this argument. That Tracer is a strong female character without sexuality, or whose sexuality doesn't add to her strength, and then to just kind of throw that out the window.
So you think just in her case specifically, that's why it's so crucial, and it's definitely cool to have sexuality involved in the game in general. But for Tracer specifically, it needs to be left out, because you look at a hero like Hanzo. He's a strong female character, and he's got his tits out. He's jacked. He is a sexy dude. I'm gonna say that right now. Hanzo is a good-looking dude. My fiance actually, loves to look at these games. She looks at heroes, and she goes, "There's not a single male character that I find attractive." In her first 10 minutes looking through Overwatch, she's like, "Oh my god, why is Hanzo so attractive?" She was immediately just like, "Mmm."
And then she pulled out the bow and arrow and was like, "Jake, take this."
Just stand with your back to me for 10 seconds. Pretend you just won on Numbani attack. Oh yeah.
Pretty much. So, damn, now chat's drilling Allison. Anyways, it's interesting. So, at the end of the day, I think one thing we can take away from this is Blizzard is still learning how to be a little bit more transparent and a little bit more interactive with its fan base, but they're also learning the growing pains and exactly how they need to respond. The fact that we have people like Kaplan on Overwatch going and responding to these forum posts, the fact that we have Dustin Browder responding to tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of tweets on Twitter regarding balance and game design for Heroes of the Storm, creates these kind of scenarios where these can become PR nightmares. And I guarantee you that the PR team at Blizzard is they're cringing. But at the same time, I also think it's crucial for Blizzard to allow their designers to be a little bit more interactive like this. It's just, this is one of those growing pains of figuring out how much of a human Jeff Kaplan can be, and how much of a just kind of being he has to be, right? It's this really kind of odd modern concept that I don't think gaming is fully accustomed to yet, especially companies like Blizzard.
Yeah, I think that's actually a really interesting point, because I think this game at its core, and I haven't played too many other Blizzard games. Obviously, StarCraft was one of them, but I think this is a game that's very much about human things. It's about emotion. You watched the Winston short. That shit almost made me cry, dude. I was like, this is about humans. It's about empathy. It's a story that allows for that, and that encourages it. And to take all of those things and all those high emotions and not think about the results and of what you're putting out into the world would be disastrous. I want to talk about your PR point a little bit because while it might be bad for Blizzard in a few different cases, whether it's from a feminist side or whether it's caving to the feminist argument, I think like gamers as a whole or like the gamer community that I saw react to Blizzard, like I think that's a bigger PR nightmare for gamers than it is for anybody else. Like I think this is so bad for gamers on the whole. Like I was embarrassed and made like incredibly disappointed in the gaming community and the Overwatch community specifically because of the kinds of responses that I was seeing. The vitriol and the vitriol and like the pure like vituperative response to Blizzard trying to what I think was a good and a move like a move that we should take pride in Blizzard for doing, taking out this pose, reacting to the fact that it's ethically problematic, and just fucking seriously like talking mad shit about the feminist movement, which is not a problem. Like the feminist movement seeks equality, right? And I think that's one of the big motivations of me wanting to come on the show, asking to talk about it, is that I think that we need to be embarrassed of the community when it reacts poorly in this way, when it's spewing vitriolic hatred. And I think that's something that I really wanted to bring up. And I hate to, bring the entire conversation down and also make it so much more broad about a huge issue. But I think that's what I saw. That's what I'm really, really upset about. And I think it's worth at least addressing in the future.
Just to address that very last point, it's always a vocal minority. They could have not changed it, and then you would see, okay, guys, Blizzard should have changed this, everyone getting mad. Like, the fact that a point of contention has been brought up, it's always a vocal minority. Even if we do see, 25 Reddit threads about it, these people aren't even in beta. Like, people playing beta aren't even talking about it. It doesn't even matter to them. So it's all, like, any point of contention is going to have the vocal minority start talking about it, and I just feel like that's an issue with every game across the board, especially on Reddit, where it's like you've got the purest form of anonymous messages, essentially, hive mind activity. Upvotes win the day there. Upvotes determine the discussion. If it was an actual forum like Blizzard's beta feedback forum or Team Liquid or something like that, where upvotes don't determine what is being discussed, you wouldn't be having it thrown in your face so much.
Reddit is cancer. I mean, we all know this.
I won't say that, but it is what it is, and you have to recognize that.
Oh. Well, I think honestly, at the end of the day, it's a good learning lesson for Blizzard and their medium and the way that they respond to things.
Sure.
I definitely think, for Tracer's character, I'm glad the pose is being removed because it just doesn't make sense for her persona in general. She's not badass. She's not supposed to be sexy. She's supposed to be fun.
And they can make something cooler.
Yeah. Oh, definitely, definitely. That's more fitting for her. And at the end of the day, I think that's what matters the most. And, as much as this was a big blown out thing on the side of Blizzard, I think there's going to be some good that comes out of it. And that does it for our butt talk.
Butt talk.
But I do want to say, if you guys are a fan of satire, I suggest that you check out Total Biscuit's video on the animals of Overwatch. He made this really, really funny satirical video about this whole situation, talking about Winston, and it made me laugh harder than I've laughed in a very long time. So big shout out to Total Biscuit and his great work on that. He pumped that out like the day of. I don't know how he does that. That's like really impressive. So really high quality content.
It's been at it a long time.
I know, but the guy's a legend, man. He really is. So shout outs to him. Continuing on, let's talk a little bit more on the esports side of things about some of the changes happening within rosters. Joshy, why don't you drive this?
Sure. So competitive Overwatch has had a few changes recently. You've got things like Mix-Up becoming Luminosity Gaming. That was shortly after our episode 5 last week. Pure actually hinted at it last week. If you remember at the shoutouts, he was talking about Mix-Up and some news with them. The next day we find out they've been signed by Luminosity Gaming, which has a very successful Brazilian Counter-Strike team that's well known. So props to Mix-Up for getting that sponsorship. And then you've got a couple of newer teams kind of performing well over the weekend. Code 7 and Life of Hanzo both impressed this weekend. As far as roster changes, G2 Gaming has also split up. We found that out on March 25th, again, like a day after our town hall. Burix, one of their support players, tweeted G2 fell apart again. I'm a free agent again. And no one really knew why, or, no one really got much information. There was no news post really about it or anything like that. Now it seems that G2 is seeking another team, as Ocelot, the owner of G2, tweeted just last night his disdain for Overwatch players asking for large salaries at this point in the game's lifespan as being a bubble. Basically, he was referring to the bubble of esports salaries, but I can only imagine that he was talking to people at IDDQD, because I don't think any other team would realistically expect a salary like that. Just connecting dots there. But who knows? IDDQD does have the best record in the game, and maybe best record that ever will be in this game at something like 51-0 in competitive matches. If the game releases and new teams rise, they're still never probably going to hit 51-0 in competitive matches.
It's so incredibly uncommon for that to happen.
Right.
Even in Heroes of the Storm, Symbiote Gaming was kind of in that case. I wouldn't say quite. I don't even know if it was quite that dominant, but it was definitely similar. But even then, they got signed by Tempo Storm, and I can pretty much guarantee you they weren't getting 1.5K. That wasn't even US dollars. 1.5K euros, which is probably even
slightly more.
Even more money at the end of the day. But they also got a team house with food and groceries and stuff covered. And I don't know what their salaries were. Probably closer to like $700, $800 a month each, which might not sound livable, but a lot of these guys, they have their expenses covered. They get like $700 salary, and as long as they don't have student loans, that is almost livable. And then on top of that, they usually stream to supplement their income as well.
And that's baked into most esports contracts now, I would say, is at least some form of other promotion outside of just playing in tournaments. So a lot of orgs obviously want to be able to appease their sponsors, and they can do that by having their players stream X number of hours a month. And so that I would expect to see that baked into pretty much any contract at this point. But just another small roster bit is it's a rumor mill / not set in stone just yet, but Taimu, who is an incredibly good hit scan player from Europe, has actually been playing some scrimmages and practice matches with Envious, who is an American team. People aren't really sure how that's going to work out, having a potential European player on an NA squad, but just with ping and servers being split is kind of interesting.
It's crazy that a hit scan player is playing with high ping. Like, the ping has
there's ping compensation in the game. So the way ping compensation in Overwatch currently works is, 14 years ago when I played Unreal Tournament Classic, you have to lead your shots. You have 120 ping. You have to lead every shot by 1.2 ms to try and hit anything. Now with ping compensation, instead of having that lag at the beginning of an interaction, essentially ping compensation says if you clicked it and you clicked it on your screen, we're going to count it as a hit no matter what the other guy saw. So if a tracer's blinking all around and you're Widowmaker and you have high ping, you're going to shoot that tracer and it's going to die. You don't have to lead the shot. You don't have to guess where she's going to blink to. But the tracer is going to be pissed because the tracer's blinking around, and when the tracer dies, she's going to die from before she even blinked, right? If it's a 1.2 ms difference. So the lag compensation totally is basically punishing defensive cooldowns more than offensive cooldowns in this case. So a hit scan player like Taimu can actually still just click on people and kill them, and it'll still work. But he's going to be dying more often from things that he hadn't seen. Does that make sense? It'll be harder for him to stay alive generally. But anyway, that's pretty much it for roster changes by and large throughout the Overwatch community. But we'll see. It seems to change every weekend which teams will show up and which won't. Like Envious hasn't played in several weeks. They still haven't lost to an NA team, but people are saying Cloud9 has kind of taken their spot as the number one NA team in their absence. So we need to see more of Envious and more of everybody really, just to continue getting a gauge of where everybody's at.
Very cool. Apparently, I'm still getting yelled at for my microphone being low, so I'm going to make adjustment. I need you guys to yell at me if it's awful. The freeze face of Joshy is quite humorous.
Dude, it's awesome.
I
just saw Tracer Butt for the first time.
Ooh, look at that Tracer Butt.
All right, let me know if my my
I'm
mic
back.
is too loud now.
I'm frozen.
Do you think it's going to be a problem that players are or that teams are 6 players? Like, do you think that's going to be sustainable? Like, prize pools will have to match it. Roster changes, I think, are actually a little bit more problematic in and of themselves. Like, there's so much going on. Like,
Dude,
we talked about it briefly
the cost
with each other.
the cost to execute an Overwatch tournament is insane. Like 5 makes a hell of a difference for over 4, and then 6 is just like, holy crap! We need 6 players plus a potential coach at every event, and then there's lodging for all of that. Do you put 2 in a room together? Do you try to just pair it up so that you've got 3 rooms per team? How do you make that financially viable? Especially in the early days, like CS:GO has massive viewership. If the game's getting 1 million viewers or whatever, MLG is getting like 900,000 viewers or something this week for the CS:GO major they're doing, then hell yeah, 6v6, whatever. It's easy to facilitate. But if Overwatch is getting like 20k viewers, 30k viewers, and you're trying to run a LAN event, like that is actually very difficult.
Yeah, so other like teams are going to have to find other ways to monetize. Like right now in Heroes, how many teams actually pump out other content other than just streaming? Right? You have Tempo Storm that makes like they have Dreadnought making videos. They have people making content for the game
The whole
itself.
team makes videos. Yeah.
So other teams, do they do that as often, or is it just kind of a Tempo Storm driven thing? Because like that's going to become almost a necessity for smaller teams to be able to manage themselves in even without the backing of Tempo Storm, just to have enough money to be able to make it to tournaments and to compete. I think that has a potential to be a serious problem.
It's gonna be tough. Like, just doing some math. If it's 1,500 USD per player, that's $9,000 a month that some org is gonna have to try to pay players just to keep them signed. And 6-month contract is pretty typical in esports, and that's 9K times 6, $54,000 that you're signing for half a year to have a team that might not win any tournaments. It's kind of rough. If that is going to be the going rate, that is, it might drastically reduce because of the huge team size.
But at the same time, having 6v6 creates like kind of a cool dynamic, especially if Overwatch does develop very strict roles, and it becomes a little bit more like a traditional sport where you have your support, you have your tank, you have your dive hero like your Tracer and your Genji, you have your siege like your Junkrat or your Pharah, whatever, however the heck the terminology ends up being in the long run, and you have these specific roles, and then you have these rosters, and the way that teams can be marketed and sold, and these positions can be highlighted and built up is almost even bigger than the way that MOBAs work. If it manages to become as confined to those roles as for a sports setting, that's ideal. But to actually tell a player, you're supposed to be this role, play Genji and Tracer only, that doesn't really make sense. So there's so many ifs, right? There's so much potential for Overwatch to be big, and then I almost look at it as like the highest risk esport ever made. It could be the best thing ever. It could be the worst thing ever.
Well, I'm trying to think like other games with huge rosters is World of Tanks, but World of Tanks
Football is like that.
No, just esports. Just
Is
esports.
it like 9v9?
Football.
Dude,
if it was like Madden 2016, and they had to have a player for each position, that would be fucking stupid. Yes,
Dude, I was imagining it.
but it would
exactly
be amazing to watch.
You saw me laughing earlier. I was picturing like fucking like Tempo Storm rolls in and they're like rolling deep. They have like a whole B squad behind them. Like while they're playing, they shift for defense and offense.
But like World of Tanks it's like 9v9 or 10v10 or something
like
ridiculous. So like
that's unreal.
Dude,
live events are stupid costly, but World of Tanks makes $1 quadrillion a month on Russia alone or something like that. So they actually can support that. Activision Blizzard has a lot of money. How much they want to spend on something like that is questionable, but just based off previous games, I'm sure the scale is going to be in line. Blizzard is not the type of company to say, "Oh, let's give all the money to Hearthstone this year," we'll just cut WoW, and StarCraft will be like a fifth of what it was. No, that they're
Well,
going to
the
keep
amount of
everybody
money they're
equitable.
putting into Heroes is a testament to what they're willing to do. I mean, Heroes has more money than any other Blizzard title because it's team based. So they're willing to scale that kind of stuff based on the title, and I definitely think they'll do that accordingly for Overwatch when it comes out. I'm trying to find like I've definitely watched some World of Tanks tournaments where they basically have like a Megazord where there's like 2 rows in like this. It's like this big booth, and there's like a lower level with like 4 guys, and there's an upper
They
level with
had
like
that.
5 guys, and it just looks like the Megazord. If you ever watched the original show, I can't find any pictures though. I'm so
They
sad.
had I took some pictures at E3 of it was Star Wars Battlefront, like the 20 versus 20 thing. They
That's
had
sick.
stadium seating for like
That's so
20
sick.
PCs. It was pretty cool. It was an awesome setup actually,
Who does
but yeah,
that?
ridiculous to actually set up and to have just IT available to deal with 20 different people's like specific gear setups and all that crap. That was nightmarish.
Okay, follow up. Imagine giant multi-person mechs in VR where they actually like put you in a giant machine that like makes you move around
Dude,
and
so
shit like while you're controlling
all
it.
right, I hate to go on like a crazy tangent, but like that's like my dream anime is they make an esport where like they actually have like this physical VR mech that they have their own custom settings, and it's like a physical entity they have to maintain, kind of like NASCAR, but then they battle in a VR world, and they're like in this stadium like Pokemon. Dude, that would be the dopest anime about esports in the future. Please, Japan, give it to me.
Dude,
Okay.
that's so sick.
Uh,
It's like that.
Anyways, we went from roster
yeah,
updates to talking about mechs and anime, and dude, that's the dream.
6v6. It's a real problem. What's going to happen? We don't know. G2 is not willing to pay 1,500 euros a month to 6 different people, so maybe someone will be. I don't know.
Well,
It's going to be hard.
I don't think it's a problem that G2 is not willing to pay that right now because there's actually no return on investment with the game.
Right.
And especially if you look at the recent track record, just literally base it on Heroes of the Storm. If you were to enter Heroes of the Storm, I don't know what EG was paying their team, but I think EG was probably paying their team a decent salary. And EG went in, they went hard, they expecting the game to blow up, and Heroes has been slow moving. It really has. And EG ended up backing out of the game. So I'd rather have teams, expand as the game expands and invest accordingly, more like 750 a month or whatever for their teams, get players that aren't necessarily full-time practicing players but still have college or a job or something to supplement their income, and I just think that makes sense right now.
Would it be? Do you guys think it would be crazy from like a business perspective? Would it be business suicide to like, basically build a contract with your players that say that you're going to make a percentage of what we make as a team as far as like our total income is concerned from sponsorships and things like that. That way, as the team grows and sponsorships get better, you end up in a position where the players are also doing better. Like,
That
is that
you can do that. So that's IDDQD's alternate route is don't sign with G2, don't sign with EG, don't sign with whoever. Just make your own sponsors and do the split however you want among the players. That is essentially the other way that you can go. And Reunited.gg is another team that was former Fnatic that is now reunited and trying to become their own brand. And there have been other teams like that in the past but the problem is you've got to fish for these sponsors. You've got no track record because you're a brand new name /logo /entity, and eventually you're going to need a website and a YouTube channel and everything, and you need staff and you need all these people, and unless you're a player that is also skilled at doing 10 million other different tasks, it's hard to maintain that competitive superiority if you have to worry about paying people and making sure the website's
Right.
updated and all this stuff. So that's why these organizations, they do offer a lot to these players among beyond just a salary, but the salary comes from sponsors. So if you go your own sponsor, it makes sense that you would get more of that payment to split amongst yourselves.
To build that infrastructure, like you said, it's not an easy task to build a brand that's marketable and sustainable and have the website and have the writers or whatever you need. It's tough. So Octoboss just sent this in. This is the World of Tanks Megazord booth looking out
So
at
sick.
the audience, and that's what it looks like. So, dude, that is so funny.
Dude, I love it. The only thing better is if they had the actual tank and like
Yeah.
each dude is like
Manning a
in a
different
piece of it.
gun. Yeah.
Dude, so funny.
That's ridiculous. I mean, what in Overwatch, how would you form the players? Like if you had to put them into like some sort of thing, like what iconic piece of
Support's way in the back because there's tanks
Damn.
up front, and flex DPS in the middle. There you go, like a school bus or a payload. No, make it a payload.
I,
Yeah,
I,
that
I
would be
have no
sick.
idea like what the proper layout is. I mean, running 6 in a row, it's actually like as much as it doesn't sound like running 6 across would be an issue. Um, I know for a fact because I've been in some meetings for planning of events, for larger events, that like there are certain venues where they're like barely able to make the stage work, and they're just like, yeah, this concert hall is actually just about it's 4 feet, 4 feet too narrow for us to be able to fit our stage, and that's for hero stages that are 5v5. So 6v6 could, I mean, there's an ideal separation between the two teams for a variety of reasons. One, they're yelling, and even in a loud environment, like in a pro setting, generally you have earbuds that have gameplay audio, and then you have noise canceling headphones on top of that are pumping out white noise so that you cannot hear anything within the venue because usually there's commentary being pumped into the venue. This is all assuming they're not in player pods, of course. And then on top of that, they wear like a headset around their neck that has the microphone, and that's how they talk to each other. But still, they try to keep the teams a certain distance away from each other and not like squash them so that they're side by side, because it creates a nice dynamic of being able to build all these assets and build all these screens behind them that represent the team that they're on and represent the blue team versus the red team, the whole deal. So 6v6, that's actually a compelling idea. I don't know how they're going to present that, and I don't know what the norm will be. I think 3-3 might look a little bit weird. If they do the Megazord approach, I'm gonna giggle and I'm gonna love it.
I'm for it. I'm for it.
The Heroes / WoW stage that Blizzard has already does fit 6 people because it was used to have 3 WoW players currently playing their match and 3 WoW players warming up for the next match. So they've already got, Blizzard at least has
So
a 6v6
Blizzard has a stage that
created.
that works for Overwatch, which is fantastic. But it doesn't mean that like the average venue can support
Yeah,
that, right?
you're right.
So
But there was a LAN event, there was a live event, Gamers Assembly, in France this past weekend that Melty won over Cooldown in the finals. But they played, it was basically just long straight tables, just like you would see at
At a LAN.
I don't know, like a card store, like Magic store or something like that for F&M. Basically all just lined up in straight tables. That's all it was on stage. So it doesn't have to be. I don't know. If you want production quality, it's going to get crazier and crazier for sure.
Interesting. Well, obviously, here Overwatch is still in its infancy. The organizations that are present and the contracts that exist will fluctuate, especially around launch. I think as soon as Blizzard announces how exactly involved they're going to be in the first year of Overwatch and what kind of competitions that they intend to run leading into BlizzCon, if there is a BlizzCon this year, because we would usually have a BlizzCon announcement by now, honestly. I'm a little surprised there hasn't been one.
I think it's been in April. And like I saw the stat on this, like in the last 3 years, it was March once and April twice or something like that. So I'm pretty sure they'll have. If they don't have BlizzCon, they better have some awesome filler for all the tournaments that they've already announced.
3 years ago, they did China.
They did Shanghai Battle.net
Shanghai.
World Championship.
And obviously there was a lot of backlash. People are really sad that there wasn't a BlizzCon, and BlizzCon has been up and up and up ever since then, and growing. And we can just hope that there will be some kind of circuit, because especially with last year, we talked about this on our last show, Heroes launched last June. Overwatch is launching the end of May, so it's basically June. So it's a pretty similar timeline. Plenty of time to do a whole world circuit to some extent to prepare for BlizzCon and have around an 8-team tournament for Overwatch, and that's what we can hope for.
There is one big difference that I just thought of since last episode, which is how many people were playing Heroes before launch last year. It was a lot, right? It was like basically open. Anyone who wanted it could play it. for a while.
Ever since May. It was honestly like April, May. No. More like March. I'm sorry.
So several months. Basically, anyone who was interested in the game had access.
Yeah.
That is not the case for Overwatch, which is interesting because everyone is going to have access for 1 week before launch. So to have a major tournament in June, like Heroes did last year, is going to be far different. Like the established teams that are in now have a huge head start.
I don't even
know if that's been able to play for a week.
I don't know if it's critical that the game needs to have a tournament in June because basically just for North
America to have
America,
time for a BlizzCon global circuit.
Well, for America, it went June Open, July Open, August Open, and then September was the actual regionals. But then BlizzCon wasn't until the first week of November. So, like, they can still make that happen if they wanted to do a similar layout where it's, like, 3 qualifiers.
Right. Well, they won't do anything in October. If BlizzCon is the first week in November, they will not do anything in October because they need everyone booked. They need everyone booked from around the world to go to Anaheim. So October is a dead month. Like, June, July, August was perfect for Heroes, and it worked because so many people are playing the game already. Overwatch, I don't know. It's going to be ambitious, basically. If they could do the same thing, they could say end of June we're going to have our first open NA tournament toward BlizzCon, and then the 4 or 5 really good NA teams right now should just destroy everybody. I'm assuming.
I mean, it would just make for awful TV until like the very, very end when it's just those 4 or 5 teams left. It would just not be fun to watch. It would be uninteresting. You'd be like, I mean, do you remember like Heroes the some of the open brackets when it was like 6-minute stomp after 6-minute stomp of like each team after one another? Like nobody wants to watch that.
Yeah, you're right.
I don't know if anybody can hear me.
Oh, we can hear you, baby.
Okay, my stuff keeps like disappearing. It keeps going robot-y, and then everybody goes quiet, so I don't know if when I'm talking.
Hey, man, you sound good to us.
You haven't had a problem yet. Yeah.
Oh. Well, yeah, so no, that was awful. And I mean, we're going to see the same sort of skill disparity, if not more of a skill disparity, in this game, I think. I think the skill ceiling, as far as I can tell, is higher in this game for individual players and from a team perspective than it is in Heroes.
Oh, for sure.
And I think that's gonna make it significantly harder to watch complete stomps.
Well, I think the complete stops will be like literally like 3-minute round, 3-minute round.
Yeah. Fortunately for us, BO3s can end in like 12 minutes if it's a stomp.
Right. Like
actually makes it harder to plan from a tournament perspective.
It's very hard.
Dude, the variables are insane.
Yeah, you're not lying. So a BO3 stomp, essentially you've got, let's say IDDQD is playing a new European team. They'll defend for 5 minutes, and then they'll cap A in like 20 seconds.
Why European? Why are we singling out the Europeans?
IDDQD's 51-0. So they've stomped literally everyone. So they're the best example. I actually have a legit reference for this because it's happened so much. But essentially it's like, it takes about 7 or 8 minutes to do that whole first map. Repeat that one more time for map 2, and then your match is done in 15 minutes. On the flip side, if you have a BO3 between 2 very closely matched teams, a payload map like Gibraltar can go 12 minutes because of overtimes and stuff like that at several different checkpoints. Like you can have 3 different checkpoints have 2-minute overtimes each, potentially. Wow. And that's a 16-minute game where the BO3 was 16 minutes by itself, and you could triple that for a 46-minute BO3 or whatever. But essentially, your time budgeting goes out the window very quickly.
Blizzard's not totally unfamiliar with this though, because like StarCraft tournaments have been kind of like that for a long time. Like you can have like 7 cheese games back to back, and you'll never see a best of 7 that lasts longer than an hour.
That's true. And
I mean, it's happened before.
Because of the time variance like that, if you have a larger tournament with 16 plus teams, you essentially have to build it in a way where multiple matches are happening at the same time with multiple streams, so that when the stomp happens, you can cut to the other match, or you can actually have some downtime. It's also rough on even the weekly brackets for Ghost of Gamers, where one team kind of just rushes through the top side of the bracket, and then you're waiting potentially an hour or more for the closer matches.
That happened all the time when I was a StarCraft caster for Playhem, because they're all open brackets, Like you'll just like rush through. Like one day it'll be a 4-hour, it'll be nothing. But yeah.
Yep, esports got some difficulties ahead, and a lot of people are still not even sold on stopwatch as the competitive mode, and there's still a lot of discussion about essentially, since like double cap maps, payload maps, and King of the Hill maps all exist right now. There's 3 of each. Well, there's 6 payload maps, but basically you're playing sometimes 3 different modes in a BO3, and that's kind of like weird for players. It's kind of weird for audiences also. As more maps get released and maybe tournaments start experimenting more with different modes and things like that, we'll actually settle on what the esport will be. Is it going to be payload only forever because double cap's so bad, or King of the Hill because you can't have a draw, or there's all just various weird complications with every single event so far. But Blizzard should provide a guiding hand for this if they can. All they can really do is go off our feedback, though.
I'm sure they will when the time comes, when they've officially announced their circuit. I mean, even with Heroes, we got to keep referencing Heroes because it's Blizzard's one team game, and obviously I have my feet very very deep in that game. They came out and they said, you know what, we're gonna do double bans with mid ban. At the time in the community, double bans wasn't even necessarily like a completely defined thing. Tournaments were starting to do it just a little bit, but the community was still very much like one ban at the start. And the game itself just this week finally got bans in the actual
Insane.
in the actual draft.
So in the PTR or in the game?
In the actual game, it just went public. Like,
okay.
There's now bans in Hero League, but it's the game's had almost a full year of competitive where Blizzard sanctioned tournaments were all using bans with mid bans, and just now it's made it into the game. So it's very obvious that the esports team themselves will have their input as to exactly how the game should be built. I'm sure the dev team will have their own power and their own control as to how they want the esport to be played as well. But as far as I understand it, the esports department is becoming a little bit more independent, a little bit more involved for Blizzard, and I think that's definitely a good thing for helping shape these games. And it's going to be really compelling to see how where Overwatch lands, because I don't think any of us really know. I mean, there's obviously been the debates about hero restrictions. There's been the debates about how map selection should work and how game mode should work and all these different things. And it's impossible to guess where it's going to end up. Unctious, where would you like to see it end up? I mean, obviously we've got games like CS:GO where it's pretty straightforward, and then you've got games like Halo where you've got Capture the Flag, you've got Slayer, you've got King of the Hill. So what would you prefer?
I think it's a good idea to keep it to like a small number of game types overall. Like I think it would be crazy if you had like 7 or 8 different game types that competitive players had to prepare for. That would just be impossible. I don't think I see that ever happening, and I would never want that to happen. I like the idea of a game that is centered around 2 or 3 main objectives that everybody can prepare for, and that the main source of intrigue comes from the interactions between the actual characters and the players themselves. Of course, that is compounded on here with having all sorts of different maps. CS:GO has different maps, Halo has different maps, and despite the objectives being similar, it puts them in different situations. It puts them in a lot of different situations. I mean, how many situations do you get into on one payload map in particular, right? You go into Numbani, you have distinct sections of the map that you have to fight over, which is really, really, really neat.
Yeah.
So I really, really like that. I like the idea of the maps providing that diversity, and I think ultimately, I want to see it head in the direction that you were mentioning earlier as far as players are concerned, where you do have specific players have specific roles. And, I think that's where you start to really see teams flourish and teams start to work together in really incredible ways. And roster swapping becomes way more intriguing because, when this team loses an offense player, it means that, those are the kind of players that are the team is going to be on the lookout for again. And I think that's really intriguing as well. So I think when it comes down to it, that's like what I'm expecting out of Overwatch. I think it has so much potential for that. And if I don't see it not happening, I think it's in good hands in Blizzard's, I think Blizzard's hands are good for the game. I'm sorry. Got flustered.
They're good for the game just because they're going to mold it so nicely. They're just going to be like, oh, that's exactly how the game needs to look and feel.
All right, guys, due to complaints, we're removing Solid Jake from the show. I know that he's a little too controversial. So the art team is going to go back. We're going to replace Jake.
You ever see that? What movie is it? In Ghost, where was it the movie Ghost, where they're at like the clay. the clay pedestal, and she's like molding the clay with her hands, and the guy comes up behind her. That's Jake forming the community with both of his hands, and Blizzard comes in and says, "No, let me help you."
Let me take over.
I'm just gonna do the show from the bed now because I'm sad.
I'm
That's
sorry,
okay.
Jake.
I was kidding, man. Get back here.
The bed's so comfy and warm, man.
We have more to talk about.
I don't like this
You're
Jake
right.
pose. Can we remove this Jake pose from the game? I think it's
You have to click the button.
way too suggestive.
Oh man.
You're the button clicker for this one, or you could totally stay in bed.
The butt clicker.
Oh. All right. So, basically, all we've got left to talk about, we've got this Ghost of Gamers article, and then we did want to talk about the weekly brawls a little bit as well.
Oh yeah. I couldn't fit that on my graphic because I'm bad. But
That's fine.
let's talk about the weekly brawls first. Before we get to
Yo.
our.
The Mercy Farah brawl.
Best.
That was insane.
It was the best one by far. It was so good. So I'll just recap some of the brawls that we've seen already to get everyone started. Basically, the weekly brawl was introduced right after TownHall Overwatch last week, so we didn't get a chance to test them or play any of them. But now we've had Genji and Hanzo only on Hanamura. Nightmare scenario. They had 400 health and reduced cooldowns. Okay. And then you had Pharah Mercy only also on Hanamura, which is okay because the points on Hanamura, both capture points actually have ceilings, so that's actually probably necessary. If it was like a payload map like Gibraltar or Numbani, where there's no ceilings anywhere, that would be just absolute ridiculousness. So I'm glad Hanamura actually fit that pretty well. Really fun, in my opinion. We also had there was a Soldier 76 one that I actually did not get a chance to play, unfortunately.
We're all soldiers now.
We're all soldiers now. There was McCree headshots only, where
noon.
literally no other abilities did anything except for left click and roll. So you had to hit someone in the head twice to kill them, and it was on the payload map Route 66 because that's the McCree lore map.
Yep.
Terrible idea. Defense literally just jumped all over the payload constantly forever. I don't know how attackers are ever supposed to win. I mean, I saw it happen, but like in the games I played, I just couldn't.
I didn't get to
it.
play that one. That's so upsetting. That's totally up my alley.
There's a video. I uploaded a video. It's on my YouTube, youtube.com/AskJoshy. You can watch this 14-minute freaking payload game because overtime lasted so long that no one could kill each other. I landed 23 headshots in 14 minutes. And I think I'm pretty good at the game. I got like silver medals and stuff. Very difficult game. And people are like, "Oh, this is really good headshot practice." And I'm like, "No, it's not. You can kill in the real game. People aren't jumping constantly because you can only headshot them. It's stupid. It's not good practice. You're all in close quarters, running each other's faces, trying to land headshots. That doesn't happen in the game.
I love it.
But like, it was interesting, but not that fun in my opinion. Then you had arcade mode. Arcade mode was you can pick whoever you want. All the cooldowns were reduced, and everyone had double HP. Also a terrible idea. Mei became immortal. She could just ice block and ice wall constantly forever. So basically you would wipe the whole enemy team, and then everyone would have to focus on Mei and try to kill her. I got the misfortune of playing Nepal against a Mei, and like it took like 35 minutes for one game, and I said never again. We went all the way to point C. It was just terrible, but a lot of people really enjoyed it. That was the one I saw the most feedback. That was like arcade mode is the best. And then we had supports only with a cap of 2. So like only 2 Zenyatas, 2 Lucios, 2 Mercies at the most, 2 Symmetras. And Zenyatta was really strong in that one. If you landed Discord orbs on people, basically Lucio and Mercy would just run in and destroy people. But that was a very skill based one, I think. Like if you're a support main, you basically just wrecked the support brawl. And then yesterday we had tanks only. Tanks only was a lot of fun. I figured out that as D.Va, you basically just lose the suit and you have 1,000,000 DPS. Everyone on the enemy team is a tank, so you can't miss. You essentially just stay like 20, 30 feet behind everybody and just pew, 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 pew. If someone does jump on you, then you pop the suit and run away. But like, I did like incredible damage and won every single round that I played as Little D.Va. Yeah, but it was that one was pretty enjoyable. I liked it because queuing up for the brawl solo you didn't have to worry about having 3 Hanzos on your team or like no support. Everyone was a tank, so it was like a very even playing field. It felt like, and that was pretty enjoyable. I like those where it's like Pharah Mercy only, tanks only, supports only, but like doubling people's health and reducing cooldowns to nothing. I think those are very bad ideas for future brawls. In a nutshell, that's my full take on the brawls, basically.
Dude, I loved the Pharah and Mercy one because like all the Pharaohs were getting their ults at about the same time, roughly. So like all of a sudden, justice reigns from above. Everyone just firing on each other. Dude, it was fantastic.
That sounds really
I
fun.
loved it.
Dude, I'm so sad because my computer runs Overwatch. Like I get 90 FPS easy on this new laptop, but the ping here is so bad for Overwatch. I can't play Overwatch on 250 ping. It's actually the most infuriating thing. I played against bots, and I felt like it was the most impossible thing in the world to play against beginner bots. I'm just like, all right, I'm not going to stress myself out trying to play on ladder. So, I mean, hotel internet, for whatever reason, it can stream no problem at 720 60 FPS, but I can't play Overwatch. So I'm glad to hear that it's been pretty well received, though, because I'm really excited to try all these modes. I mean, we have overly defensive coming out. That's just two heroes, or limited to 2 per role in the defensive. Coming out highly offensive, it's again all offense heroes, but limited to 2 of that hero. Heads up, it's McCree, Genji, Hanzo, and Widowmaker with headshots only. This has all been data mined.
Widow wins. Widow wins that.
Oh, of course,
like
she does,
I would
dude.
never pick any of those other characters.
Like, I would play Genji. You kidding me?
Genji headshotting does so much less damage than a Widow one shot.
But what if it's like just kind of like 2 headshots and you win?
Well, he just got to get like super close though, right? He's just got to get like up in her business.
I guess. I don't know. I would still.
He has the ability to do that.
At least Genji can deflect. At least he has the defense.
Oh yeah, that's true. He's a good engage.
His deflect's probably pretty worthless. Who knows?
I did miss one brawl. Sorry, someone mentioned it. The random hero on respawn was actually pretty fun as well. And that's again, that was a fun solo queue one because there's no balance intended, so it really didn't matter like what your comp was. It was fun.
I want to like start doing weekly content for Overwatch when I'm back home at my house, and one of the first things I want to build is like basically a fun weekly tournament that's played on that mode, the Mystery Heroes. I just think that would be a really fun thing to cast, just even like viewer games or whatever. I think it's going to be really enjoyable.
There would be such a good opportunity for like community game nights.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's so good for that.
Yeah, I'm actually a little. The fact that we've been getting a new one every day is pretty fun. These are planned to be weekly, like week long. If it was arcade mode for a whole week
of any of these.
No, yeah.
Cannot imagine it.
I would do a week of Pharah Mercy, but I'm a Pharah main, so that was like a kid in a candy store for me. It was just like, you're dead, you're dead, you're dead. And I had a pocket Mercy the whole time. It was amazing. And I could fly endlessly because they reduced the cooldown.
I feel
I didn't play a single game of that where we were able to get the first control point like at all. Like
I won every time. It was
oh my god. Ask Joshy, the Pharah ultimate player.
I played with Slasher too. Slasher was really good at it.
I need to play with him in Overwatch. Is he any good?
Oh yeah, he's really good. He plays Pharah and Mercy actually, both pretty well.
That's cool. Yeah, I really feel that this game mode is, if they're gonna make it a week-long thing, it has to be like Tavern Brawl, where you get a loot box for playing it, or something. It needs to be like something that incentivizes players to come back to the game every week to play this new thing and get their free loot. Otherwise, it's just gonna be a game mode that people like touch here and there, and then when it's recycled, they're probably not even gonna bother with it. Like the second time you release Heads Up, like, you might have a small niche community, but then you're going to have these long queue times that are like obnoxious. And
that's the other issue was queue times.
Yeah, there's like all these problems that exist with it. So they need to find their way to really incentivize whether if loot box when you win or what.
I think credits would be appropriate, like 100 credits,
cool.
something minor, where it's like you can buy a spray or pose or whatever just for participating.
Well, the amount of settings
is wildly variable, so.
The amount of settings that they have in like the custom games, though, like there's so much that they can play with. Like these are all themed, like these are pretty simple themes. You can get pretty crazy if I remember right from the custom settings.
Oh, you can do all kinds of stuff, dude.
You can't change. You can change ult generation to like 50%, 25%, but you can't turn them off. you can't manipulate like HP values or cooldown values either. So you can't necessarily mimic all of these, but you can artificially limit, character selections, and you can limit to just one available character or just two available characters like
I
that.
mean,
So
I was
that's
just
cool.
saying that there's like so much room for them to play with more settings. I feel like when they're creating these, like these are all pretty simple ideas, high health, low respawn, but I'm pretty sure there's got to be other things that they can like come in so that it's not just recycled, or at least
I
not,
mean,
once for months.
and even with Hearthstone, they release like more elaborate ones once in a while based on X, Y, and Z. So, in the event that they decide they're releasing a new map, or in the event they decide they're releasing a new hero, they can have themed launches of the weekly brawl based around these type of things, which is a really cool thing to be able to do for sure. So the few ones we didn't talk about is the good, the bad, the ugly. It's McCree, Reaper, and Roadhog. You're just restricted to those three, and that's it. And then the other two is basically they have MOBA Watch, where it's like you're restricted to one hero per role, and then Girl Power, which is literally just all female heroes. So that's kind of just fun little other themes they've that have been data mined from overpwn.com.
Yeah, all good. There's a lot of variety available. I think it's obviously a good addition to the game, just to be able to
Oh yeah.
ask some friends, hey, you guys want to try out the brawl, and maybe play a round or two, depending on how fun it is. But I like that it's rolling daily right now. I get that they can't feasibly do that going forward, but it is really cool for now.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's continue on to our final topic of the evening, where we're going to be looking at the Gosu Gamers Hero Swap Analysis. And basically, this is something that GosuGamers.net has been doing for some time. You can go to GosuGamers.net/Overwatch to catch a lot of cool coverage for both competitive and articles. And there's basically a bit of analysis from the European scene as to what we're seeing, the tendencies for hero swapping. What does that exactly look like, And I thought this was really cool when you guys sent this over to me.
Yeah, Unctious, you can take it away on this one.
Yeah, I actually I didn't have too much time to look too far into it. I think that there's some problems with the way the data is presented, because when you look at like different areas, there are different graphs on here, or like different amounts of time, so it's hard to see that like when both teams were one one player for one character for the duration of the game. It's like, wow, they played McCree from beginning to end on defense, for this particular map, but actually it was only like a 3-minute match. So it's a little bit unclear in that way. But
I love this.
Yeah, I just think it's.
We were just talking about like characters being a little bit role tuned, and you see like Widowmaker, Tracer. I think that's Zenyatta being thrown in the mix. And then we see McCree thrown in the mix, but it's just kind of cool to have these comparisons. And then there's some flexibility, Tracer paired with Junkrat, like it's kind of cool.
You can also see it's kind of neat for just tracking player preferences and player like specialties across. If you just look across all the games, so like Mendo played Tracer, McCree, Tracer. And then in one game he played McCree, Tracer, and Widowmaker, and they won the game because he tried Widowmaker for the first time, basically. And then you've got Coco switches all the time, Reinhardt, Widowmaker, Torbjorn, Roadhog. Like you see really easily who the flex players are, and who by map you can see very specifically like them all sticking to their guns. So the very last graph on that page is IDDQD versus Reunited, where both teams had mirrored comps the entire length of the game. So that's interesting. They both use Torb, they both use Symmetra and Zenyatta as their Symmetra, Zenyatta, and Lucio. They both use triple support plus a Torb, and then Genji and Tracer as their very mobile damage dealers. But that map was, what map was it? Does it even say?
It says round duration.
Oh, Lijiang Tower. Okay.
3 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah.
The other neat thing is seeing how different characters line up against each other. Like if you look at, there's one of these that has Roadhog and Torbjorn, or Roadhog switching to Torbjorn at almost the same time that Tracers was switched to McCree on the other team. Just based on map, from a map perspective, it's incredible to see what heroes are really, really valuable in particular positions on attack and defense, and how they change with relation to one another. I don't think this is the best way to show that necessarily, but you can at least get a feel for it, which I think is neat.
That map is a good one to look at also because it's the fact that the red line drawn down the middle is once they've completed the first portion of the map,
Right.
they essentially all like a lot of reunited change characters, almost all of them, and then IDDQD on attack decided they only needed to switch up one character. They basically went from Roadhog to Torb to help in that second phase. So yeah, it's pretty cool. I think it is a valuable data set to look at, even though it is only isolated to the one match. It would be cool to see more of this across the board. But since IDDQD and Reunited are two of the top teams, it's a good one to look at for basically anybody to get a quick feel about the importance, I guess, of character swapping versus some of these games where they just don't change at all.
I think as the competitive scene develops, we're going to see a lot of these crazy, crazy graphs. Like these are going to get way more intricate as like players get more characters under their fingers, more heroes under their fingers. It's going to make it a lot easier to justify switches in different scenarios, and I think that's going to be really cool. I can't wait to keep an eye on this stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
That's all I had to say.
especially if they decide to add more heroes into the game, who knows how it will evolve and expand. But definitely like a really fun set to look at. Especially, this is kind of like a cool. A bit of history, especially because obviously we expect Overwatch to have a pretty diverse life as it will expand and become very different, and the meta will shift throughout based on patches and the whole deal. And even just having these news articles in the beta to be able to go back and look at the tendencies of the teams, it's going to be fun to look back on today and laugh at, this is what the meta looked like then, haha, because I guarantee you it's going to look different.
Yeah, and it's wild even week to week right now because Zenyatta has undergone 3 different changes, and Genji has undergone 3 different changes, and Lucio's undergone 3 different changes in the last 2 months.
Yep.
So it'll even out after release, I'm assuming, if they don't just continue at that pace of basically one balance change per month or week, rather.
I mean, I'm sure they're going to tone that down as they get closer and closer to launch. I mean, even this week, we haven't had a patch yet, and that's kind of just a testament to Blizzard's, starting to slow things down. They've backed away, and they've said, all right, let's see how this patch feels. Let's let this patch ride for 2 weeks, then see what community feedback looks like, and then we'll patch accordingly. Because, I mean, we're how long? Like 6 weeks out from launch.
We're 5 weeks from open beta. We're 2 full months from launch still.
Well,
May
yeah,
24th.
I mean, they want to have the game more or less balanced in 5 weeks from now. So, for that open beta.
Right.
So
yeah, I don't know what balance changes we'll see after open beta. Probably not many, since that'll be like the game people are getting accustomed to.
Right.
Oh, I froze again.
Shout out to Blizzard, by the way, for like the balance that they've been doing, because like a game like this is, I feel like, nearly impossible to get a decent read on, like statistically, on how to balance. Like, it's so insane. Like, I know some of the techniques for balance, for game balance and stuff like that, and you just can't apply them to this. Like, they had to have come up with an entirely different set of statistical models for being able to balance this game. It's super impressive.
Yeah, I'm with you, man.
Totally. Yeah. 21 characters is a lot, and if they add more and more, it's going to become an even more difficult web to keep balance, especially with multiple hero selection. And that's a whole other topic that we've already talked about in previous casts, and I don't think really much has changed since then. I'm actually looking at this article further. You see, there's not a lot of double ups anymore, which is interesting.
No. I mean, that was huge during during Zenyatta's domination. That was huge, right? But
I mean,
even double Lucio, double Soldier had been coming out recently, and these two teams didn't do that barely at all. I see one instance of double Tracer, and that's it across the whole series.
I mean, I know we saw that in One Nation of Gamers. We saw some double Tracer. I was watching the VODs from that with you and Fishtix this weekend. Definitely saw a bit of that. There was even double Soldier for a bit in those games, but still, seems like
basically the best support in the game. So
I know, right?
It's a good one for point control.
We're all healing now, but it's good game design if they're able to reduce that on their own, right? And basically, I think this is a good thing for the game if they're able to try to deny that being the norm in the meta of double Winston, double Zenyatta, or whatever, double Lucio, probably not double Zenyatta. If they're able to deny that being a very common thing just through game design alone, and stylistically some teams are able to do that, I think the game's in a great spot. So I'm pretty pumped about the current meta myself, and it's cool that it's constantly changing and evolving based on. I mean, that's just how metas work, right? Even
yeah. Well, there's 21 characters. You're not going to see 21 over the course of one game or one match. It's just naturally going to happen where, like, May is maybe good in one of 20 different scenarios where, the other 19 times some other character is going to be a better fit for your 6. You only get 6 people. Some of them have to be tanks, or some of them have to be supports. I won't say some of them have to be tanks because that's not true, but some of them have to be supports generally. And like you just don't have the flexibility to see every character in every match, and that's something Blizzard, I'm sure they're fine with as long as people are still playing them in the regular game, in the regular matchmaking, even in ranked play. As long as they're seeing their numbers okay, they will not they won't have to do aggressive balancing. They need to understand, and I'm sure they do, that you're not going to ever have that parity between all characters.
Yeah. Well, very cool. I mean, we just took a look at two of the community's bigger resources. We looked at Overpwn and Gosu Gamers. Of course, ESL is going to be running a lot of events in the future, and One Hit Club, also another early adopter here in the Overwatch scene. So those are probably some of their better resources. I think we're out of topics, boys.
That's it, man.
Well, I'll just mention some of the content, some of the competitive Overwatch stuff that's happening. There's a lot of stuff that's just not getting much coverage right now. So there's a Game On League taking place on Azubu that ZPs and Hexagram have been casting, where basically it's a league format. So you have like 2 teams play each other in just a small series, and then 2 new teams play each other, and then next week they switch it up. So Azubu's got that Game On. Check that out. At least Google it. I don't have a bunch of references available, I'm sorry, but this came to mind just during the show. We've got King of the Watch is still going. IDDQD are the reigning champions and have been for several weeks. They're unbeaten in competitive play, so they'll probably be the King of the Watch until release, probably, in my opinion. But that is happening on a website called stream.me tomorrow. There is obviously the Gosu Gamers Weeklies happening Saturday and Sunday. As usual, they're going to be on number 10 or 11, I think, this coming week. So they've been at it for a long time. Thanks to Gosu Gamers for their continued support. And then One Nation of Gamers, we played this qualifier for the last North American team. It was Life of Hanzo versus Prime. Life of Hanzo was victorious there, so Life of Hanzo will be playing on April 9th and 10th in the actual tournament, which is coming up here, not this weekend, but the next one, also on Twitch. So make sure, and actually right now I think there's a Brazilian only show match or tournament happening. If you guys dig through the Overwatch directory at random times of day and just look through the lower view streams, you might find a player that you're interested in. Twitch, the Overwatch directory is still growing right now. There's a lot of streamers that have good quality. It's just not a ton of viewership right now. So if you are someone who enjoys watching, I would say spread the love, at least investigate some of those other players, and be on the lookout for all these kinds of smaller competitions that are just not, they just don't have the traction right now because not enough people are playing. But it's definitely nice to go support competitive play whenever you do see it. So that's just some of the stuff happening right now.
Very cool, man.
True that.
Very cool, man. Yeah, I'm still working on my plans. It'll come.
Soon.
Soon, TM. Soon,
Good
TM.
to hear.
Just like Blizzard, but there are things in the work for sure. But on that note, guys, let's actually head on over to our shoutouts, starting with you, Uncle Unctious.
Hi, I'm Unctious. You can find me at twitch.tv/UnctiousSC, which stands for StarCraft, but we need to come up with something new for it to stand for, since StarCraft is long gone for me.
Super cake.
Streams crap. I don't know.
You can also find me at twitter.com/UnctiousStreamCrap. Check out Mafia on Ryuzilla's channel on Tuesdays at 9 p.m. You'll see me there shouting at a bunch of other nerds because that's all we do. That's what Mafia is about. Beyond that, thanks for coming out. I mean, if you want to engage in any more Tracer conversation with me personally, because I know that it feels like the feminist side of the conversation doesn't get that much publicity here. You can feel free to engage me on Twitter. I'm more than willing to talk about things and be part of a gentle discourse on the subject.
Just send him some nice
but-
butt pics.
Just just start with a picture of you in the over your shoulder pose. That's how I know it's real.
Someone did that on Twitter. Who was it? Oh God, I can't remember now. It was Loco, I think. Loco got
Someone's
down
gonna
to his
find-
undies and did the over the shoulder pose and tweeted it.
I call for like everybody here to like change their Tinder profile pictures to like the over the shoulder pose, like just like
Solidarity.
that, all the babes. Anyway, yeah. So that's me, man. Thanks for hanging out.
Thanks for
Okay,
coming on,
Unctuous
dude.
Supercaster. That's what it is. Unctuous
Oh,
Supercaster.
you
damn,
go.
that was so easy.
Dang.
Yeah. I'll give props to Shattered Ice for that one in chat. My shoutouts are just Ask Joshy on pretty much everything. I've been uploading the VODs from these Ghost of Gamers tournaments that I've been casting on my YouTube, so you can check out youtube.com/AskJoshy if you are interested in some of those VODs that we were talking about. Shout out to basically everybody who's been watching Overwatch during this very tough phase where no one can play it and all you can do is watch. Thank you for not burning out so quickly that you refuse to watch until the game is released. I appreciate the support for all the stuff that I've been doing, and just keep an eye out for more Ask Joshy whenever someone brings up a discussion of where should I go watch Overwatch stuff. Just keep me in mind, and that's all I ask. Thanks everybody.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on, Unctuous, and it's always a pleasure, Joshy. For myself,
Thanks, man.
really fun week. Obviously, I'm still doing this stuff in Florida, but I'm really excited because tomorrow, Allison is flying down. I've been in Florida for 4 or 5 weeks now, and I haven't seen her. Allison being my fiance, she's flying down here tomorrow night, and then we're taking 5 days off together to just kind of chill, take a little vacation, which we haven't had in a long time. We're gonna go to Harry Potter Land. We might go to Disney World because I'm in Disney. I can watch the fireworks from this window right here. I can just see the fireworks that happen every night. So that's pretty cool. And I'm really excited for that vacation. After that, I'm actually going to Seattle next week for the Heroes of the Dorm finals. I'm doing like interviews and production stuff behind the scenes, and prepping for a final show. As a result, next week there will not be a Town Hall Overwatch because my week is completely booked with vacation and of course travel on Thursday to Seattle. I'm literally flying from Orlando, Florida to Seattle, Washington. That's about as far as you can go domestically in the United States of America.
It's true. I've driven that twice, so it's more fun that way. Yeah, I drove from Charleston, South Carolina to San Francisco twice.
That's insane. That's actually insane. So probably no Town Hall Overwatch next week as a result. And the week after that, I'm finally finishing up in Florida and moving into my new house. I don't know if Town Hall Overwatch will be on Thursday. I'm thinking it'll be on Tuesday that week, but of course we'll keep you guys updated just because my schedule is pretty chaotic. But after that, I will be back in my home, in a new setting where things will even up. The show will go to a more consistent time, a completely consistent time, and that's going to be perfect right around launch. So thanks so much for the continued support for dealing with our kind of chaotic schedule here with Town Hall Overwatch. And I think that does it for us tonight. GG's, ladies and gents. Joshy, Unctuous.
GG's.
The hearts.
Thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate it.
Let's make butts with our hand in honor of today.
Can I just just hold a butt?
There you go. Good. That does it for tonight. See you next time.
Bye, everybody.